Hello friend, I read this new post, College Info Geek. Okay, so also let's get started. 10 ways to find work-life balance when you work from home, written by Ranzan Peterson. Last updated 3 April 2020. When you work from home, the lines between work and life can blur. To be sure, working from home has many benefits, including no commute, fewer distractions, and a flexible schedule. Even with the even with all these benefits, however, working from home can also lead to an unhealthy lifestyle in which you only work. This can put a strain on your relationships as well as your mental health. How do you make sure that work doesn't bleed over into your life? How do you maintain work-life balance when your workplace and home are the same? In this guide, I'll draw on my 5+ years of working from home and give you some practical tips to ensure that work stays at home, even if your workplace is only a few steps from your living room. Have a schedule and stick to it. A schedule benefits from chaos and whim. It is a net for coaching days. Any Dillard. When you work in an office, your work schedule is usually determined by someone else. Your company likely expect you to be in the office from 9 to 5 or another set of hours. You may have some control over your schedule within that block of time, but the basic hours are more or less set. And once 5 p.m. rolls around, you know that you're done with work. When you work from home, there's typically less structure in your schedule. Some companies will use extreme means like time tracking software to ensure that you're working during specific hours, but most won't bother. Therefore, your schedule is now up to you, and if you want to make sure that your work doesn't stretch throughout all hours of the day, it's in your best interest to create a schedule. The specifics of the schedule don't matter, aside from any specific rules your company has, of course. So I recommend make it a schedule that helps you be productive. If this means getting up at 5 a.m. and working from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m., great. If you're more of a night owl and want to get up at 9, go for it. But whatever you do, be sure you map out your work schedule in advance. You take it seriously. When it's getting time, stop all your work and go to something else. Have a set workplace. Without the workplace of a traditional office, you need to make your own. It can be tempting to sit on your couch or lie in bed with your laptop open. But I advise against this, because if you work in the same place that you sit to relax, the boundaries between work and leisure time can disintegrate. Instead, I recommended having a space that you only, or at least primarily, use for work. This doesn't have to be an elaborate home office either. My office is a corner of my bedroom with a standing desk, office chair, and power strip. What matters is that it's defined space that's for working and nothing else. This way, when you are done working, you can leave the office and enter the other spaces of your home that are for living, not working. Need some inspiration for setting up your work or study space? Have a morning ritual. When you're recommended to an office, you have some sort of morning ritual by default, even if this consists of running out of your house at the last minutes while you guzzle coffee. It's still something that you do before work itself starts. Oh, one moment. Okay. But when the distance between your bed and office I measure it in feet instead of miles, I can too tempting to jump straight into work when you wake up. If you can, I recommend avoiding this. Otherwise, you might find that you're doing nothing all day but work. Instead, it's better to have a morning routine that you complete before work begins. Not only will they keep some space between life and work, but it will also set you up to work more productively. Your specific morning routine is a personal preference, but we recommended that you include activities that will energize and inspire you, including hydration. Drink a glass water or two along with that morning coffee. Nutrient. Eat a healthy breakfast with a balance of protein, carbohydrates, and whole fats. Exercise. Get your blood pumping with a walk, yoga, calisthenics, bike ride, or whatever exercise you want. Learning. Stimulate your mind with non-fiction book, easy podcast, or education video. Just be sure to avoid YouTube rabbit hole. Have on and off work ritual. Finish every day and be done with it. You have done what you called some blunders and absurdities. To doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you in. Ralph Waldo Emerson. As terrible as the Indian communicate can be, it does often a clear signal to the end of work. Before it you are at work, after it you are at home. Without a commute, however, and can lose that clear separation between work and home. While sticking to a schedule should help alleviate this, you may feel a need for something more definitive to signal the end of work. For this reason, I recommended having an end of work ritual. With this process, you can wind down from work and set yourself up for a productivity tomorrow. As with a morning ritual, the details of this are up to you. But here are a few things that I recommended including in your end of work ritual. Close all work apps and browser tabs. Check your calendar for tomorrow. Make a to-do list for the next day. This will keep you from worrying about tasks you didn't get to do today. if you miss the separation that a commute gives you. You can even physically leave your house, walk around the block and return. A friend gave me his advice when I started working from home, and I found it to be remarkably helpful, especially on a Friday afternoon. Don't check email after work. Working from home means using a combination of email, team chat apps, and something video calls and community with your coworkers. While these apps make remote work possible, they also commute culprit for a lack of work-life balance. When everyone is if when everyone is theoretically accessible 24/7, it can feel like you're working all the time. To prevent yourself from staying up until 2 a.m. responding to work emails, avoid checking emails and other communications apps after 4 is over. Unless you work in finance, emergency service, or news, there rarely a message so urgent that it can't wait until the next day. Set boundaries with your boss and coworkers. The advice in the previous section won't work unless your entire team is on board. If respond to emails at all hours is the norm, is your company culture. For instance, your boss of coworkers might get frustrated when you don't respond. To avoid problems, it's best to define boundaries and expectation with your boss and team from the outset of working from home. Oversight, you risk defaulting to a culture of 24/7 communication and stress. Have some things to discuss. What hours are we expected to work? When are we expected to respond to work message? In what situation, if any, is it acceptable to contact someone outside of work hours? What constitutes a work emergency? If you can get clear on this question, everyone will have a much better work-life balance. Don't mix work and recreation. Are you working and relaxing right now? I should be an easy question to answer, but the online nature to remote work can make it hard to say at times. This is because with no boss looking over your shoulder. It's tempting to mix work activities with recreation owns. For instance, it might seem harmless to have the TV on while you work. Some people may even check social media or respond to text. While I think that certain kinds of media can help you focus, such as music, I advise against mixing other forms for entertainment with your work. Not only do these activities destroy your focus, but they also break down the boundaries between work and relaxation. If you have trouble resistance, the siren song of social media. On the quick distractions of YouTube clips, I recommended blocked that with an app like Freedom. Note: some people claim to work quite productivity with a movie or TV show going in the background. Writer Rexan Gay, for instance, says in the acknowledgements to her usually collection, Bad Feminist, that she wrote much of the book with Laura the border so one. If the background noise of TV or movies helps our focus, then keep doing what works for you. But if you find is talking too long to do your work, I'll consider removing media-oriented distractions. Have something to look forward to. After a long day in the office, getting to go home is you been its own reward. But if your office doesn't feel different from your living room, then it can be tempting to keep on working. To help you get out of work, on time, schedule something to look forward to. Here are 4 ideas. The walk you take as part of your end of work ritual. A hobby that helps you relax. A session playing your favorite video games. Yep. A compelling novel. A compelling novel that you can't wait to keep reading. Cooking a tasty meals for you and or your family. A club meeting even if it's a virtual one. Watching the latest episode of your favorite TV show. And the above just a few ideas. What matters is having something that you care about and look forward to outside of work. This is important even if you work in an office, but it's critical when you work from home. Set expectation with your household. I mentioned in the beginning that working from home can put a strain on your relationships. This is most acute with people who share your living space. Without proper expectation and planning, working from home can make it seem like you don't care about the people you live with. In the worst cases, you can end up neglecting your most important relationships in the pursuit of finishing one more thing. To avoid these problems, I recommend talking with your family, roommates, significant other, or wherever else you live with about when and where you plan to work. For instance, you could tell and roommates that when you are sitting at the desk in the living room, I am at work and should be disturbed. In addition to preventing conflicts, setting expectation with your household will also ensure that you work productively and have someone to hold you accountable when you are not supposed to be working. Note: I didn't have kids, but I recognize that working from home while also caring for children can be an immense challenge. For guidance on how to work from home with kids, check use this quote from the Workator. Work efficiently. If you find you say always staying late to finish work even with a shadow, when then it's worth looking at how you work. Often the issue isn't a lack of time but rather a lack of focus and intelligence work methods. I already mentioned the importance of removing distractions like social media and your phone. And that's still the number one things I recommended if you are having trouble getting your work done on time. But in addition to removing external distractions, make sure you aren't working inefficiently. The most common issue here is an attempt multitasking. I say attempt because the human brain is terrible at multitasking. Each time you switch between tasks, there's a switching cost in which your brain takes a brief amount of time to switch to the new task. While it may only take your brain a few tenths of a second to switch, these tiny intervals of time can add up over the course of a day, ultimately slowing down your work. A classic example is having your email and Slack open while you are attempting to write a report. You may feel more productivity because you are responding to messages from coworkers and writing a report at the same time. But in reality, you are just being less effectivity at both of these tasks. It should be more efficient to write the report without distractions and then spend a dedicated block of time responding to message. This is just one example. For more detailed advice on how to work efficiently, check out our full course on creating a productivity system. Work-life balance is possible for remote workers. Working from home in healthy productivity can be struggle, especially if you are new to remote work. I hope this guide has shown you that you can enjoy all the benefits of work from home without compromising you live outside to work. Looking for advice? La 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 la. Thank you for watching, my friend. Bye.